So now I'm pleased to introduce our final keynote speaker. Congresswoman Susan Brooks represents the 5th District of Indiana, which spans 8 urban, suburban, and rural counties in central Indiana, including the north side of Indianapolis. She sits on the Energy and Commerce Committee, and I understand recently tried out a self-driving car in advance of the ENC hearing. However, given her selection as the speaker's designee on the Republican Conference Steering Committee, the Congresswoman is unable to join us today. However, we are pleased to welcome her Legislative Assistant Reagan Payne to deliver her remarks. Please give her a warm welcome.
Absolutely. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for extending the invitation for Congresswoman Brooks to participate in this important dialogue, and thank you all for your flexibility in adjusting to some of the scheduling challenges. So again, my name is Reagan Payne, and I serve as a legislative assistant for the Congresswoman, focusing on technology. I personally have a passion for the tech world and for encouraging more young women to engage early on in STEM and tech educations and opportunities. I'd like to share with you brief remarks about the Congresswoman's involvement, interests, and passions for online safety and emerging technologies. The theme of this conference is Online Safety in Transition, and this is an immensely appropriate and accurate title because we really are a society in transition. Every day, we're more mobile, accessible, and online. This transition has created enormous opportunities for innovators, and it has also created huge gaps in our security and regulatory systems. In response to these gaps, it is up to elected officials like Congresswoman Brooks, her colleagues in Congress, educators, law enforcement officers, and thought leaders to achieve a delicate balance. Congresswoman Brooks understands the importance of enacting legislation and regulations that foster innovation and growth. In short, laws should move at the speed of innovation, while also making sure our personal information, our kids, our national security are protected from online threats, predators, and terrorists. As part of rapid innovation in our changing society, social and digital media have revolutionized communication for everyone, including terrorists and extremists. As a former U.S. attorney, the Congresswoman is keenly aware that terrorist groups like ISIS have turned to social media and other open platforms to reach new people with their messages of fear, hate, and to foster new recruits. At the same time, social and digital medias are at the center of effective response and prevention efforts. Law enforcement and intelligence organizations can gather information about and alert the public to persons of interest using social and digital media platforms. First responders use these tools to help quickly and accurately convey important information to impacted communities and offer real-time updates on developing threats. Thanks to functions like Facebook's check-in feature, family members and friends can have peace of mind that their loved ones are safe from harm in an emergency setting. So last year, the Congresswoman worked with her colleagues in Congress to establish a public-private working group that would set up guidance and best practices for using social media during a terrorist attack or other emergency. Signed into law last fall, this legislation requires the Department of Homeland Security to bring together federal, state, and local officials, as well as representatives from the private sector, to improve communications and information sharing between the public and private sectors during a crisis. Now, technology is constantly changing, and so collaborating with our tech sector to effectively use social and digital media channels is an important piece of our strategy to combat terrorism, and specifically, the radicalization of American citizens online. It is these kinds of partnerships and the kinds of partnerships that are here in this room right now between policymakers, law enforcement officials, educators, and industry leaders that are a critical piece of navigating the transitions we're going through as a society and as a country. Transitions that will change our way of life, like the proliferation of connected devices. It is estimated that by 2020, there will be a staggering 50 billion connected devices around the globe collecting data and connected to the internet. Connected devices provide incredible opportunity and benefit, like smart toys that can help kids build social and learning skills. Yet, the Internet of Things is changing the security landscape and exponentially expanding both our conveniences and the attack surface. Now, the Congresswoman sits on the House Energy and Commerce Committee and has participated in numerous hearings surrounding the security of connected devices. The most recent hearing examined the October botnet attacks, which is just one example of the fragility of the internet and the powerful forces that aim to disrupt it. As a mother, the Congresswoman discusses and analyzes each of these cyber attacks with a focus on protecting children. And it is her great passion for keeping our kids safe that deeply unsettled the Congresswoman as she read a report recently released by the Department of Justice earlier this year. The report declared that sextortion is by far the most significant growing threat to children. As a U.S. attorney, the Congresswoman focused on child exploitation cases. Yet, if we fast forward to today, she is just now learning about emerging internet crimes because the word sextortion did not even exist when she was a U.S. attorney. So, to address this growing new threat that's emerging recently too, the Congresswoman joined Congresswoman Catherine Clark, who you heard from earlier today, in introducing bipartisan legislation to combat the coercion of sexual activity or the coerced production of sexually explicit images over the internet. The legislation introduced by these two powerhouse female members of Congress would close the gap in the federal code between existing extortion and sexual exploitation law that allows sextortion to go either unpunished or under-prosecuted. Because it is bipartisan, coordinated efforts like this that we need to see in order to combat emerging threats online. Now, just as the online landscape is changing, our workforce is also in transition. The skills and expertise that you needed to succeed at a job 10 or even 20 years ago is very different than what you need today. Before coming to Congress, Congresswoman Brooks served as the Senior Vice President of Workforce Development at Ivy Tech Community College. This is the largest community college system in Indiana and Indianapolis. And during her tenure at Ivy Tech Community College, the recession hit. Suddenly, the student body at Ivy Tech Community College exploded. Thousands of students were looking for ways to make their skills relevant in an economy and a country that was moving faster and faster towards a modern, technology-based online workplace. Now, according to the Department of Labor, 65% of kids today will build a career in a job that doesn't even exist yet. So let's think about that for a second. More than half of students currently enrolled in school will make careers and support their families using jobs that we can't even conceptualize. And the reality is, looking at that 65% figure, thousands of people employed today will be looking for ways in the future to learn new skills and develop new areas of expertise to succeed in these new, still undefined careers. About a year ago, the Congresswoman joined Snapchat, and she was one of the first members of Congress to do so. I know as a staff we had a lot of fun and challenges teaching her how the new app works, and had a lot of fun breaking the news to her kids that their mother was now on Snapchat. So she likes to say that this was a bit of technology that she'd never used before, and one that she's fully embraced and uses daily to communicate with constituents, primarily young people and students, and it gives her an avenue to connect to them directly. Now, what I think this story illustrates is a real challenge for policymakers. How can we prepare our students and our workforce for careers that don't yet exist? For one, it's taking steps to make sure that every student in the United States has the opportunity to pursue relevant courses of study that allow them to innovate and act and to solve problems that they see in their own lives, the kinds of problems that the founders of Uber and Fitbit saw. Exposing students to the opportunities in computer science, as well as teaching online safety, is a core priority of Congresswoman Brooks. Since coming to Congress, she has been dedicated to promoting computer science in K-12 education and encouraging young people to explore the careers in these fields. Now, women and girls especially need to be encouraged to pursue these courses of study. But encouragement alone is not enough. We must also eliminate the bias and stereotyping that STEM fields belong to the boys and men. So, apart from encouraging girls of all backgrounds to pursue STEM education, it's also up to industry to make sure that the workplace culture is friendly to female engineers, scientists, and professionals. The Congresswoman serves as co-chair of the Women's High Tech Caucus and is part of the effort to empower women of all backgrounds in technology and diversify the tech space because this is really a transition that we need. Again, as the name of this conference notes, we are a society in transition. And that transition has been dominating in our headlines as President-elect Trump prepares to take on these and other challenges next year. The Congresswoman is looking forward to working with him and believes that many of the challenges she cares about, like improving our readiness in response to cyber threats, the radicalization of Americans online, promoting innovation while protecting Americans on emerging technologies, and preparing our students and employees for the careers of the future, are indeed priorities for his administration. A priority that the First Lady has recently pledged to combat, cyberbullying, is one that many in this room can be involved with moving forward. So to make these priorities a reality and making sure that they are successful, it is up to everyone in this room to work together through these transitions and help one another understand the best path forward. Again, thank you so much for inviting the Congresswoman to speak, hoping to continue the dialogue with you, and thanks for welcoming me in her stead. Thank you.